Okay, welcome everyone. We're excited for today, and you have joined us on the podcast, The Good, the Bad, the Hustle. And really, this podcast is for entrepreneurs, small businesses. It's really an honest conversation about the ins and outs of entrepreneurship. It's the highs, the lows, the hustle, and really everything in between. So today, we are very excited to have our very first guest, which is Annabel Griffiths Fitzsimmons. And we're going to talk much more about her. Tiff's going to get into these incredible accomplishments that she has had along the way. But from my perspective, Annabel and I go way back, over 30 years. She has been my standing ward. She has been my closest friend. And so I'm very honored to have her here today. Very exciting. So welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
And so really from there, I just want to say I kind of feel like we've got this little setup. And if you're watching or you're not listening, we're kind of around a table, very casual, and I feel it's kind of mom and pop to have such a big guest, honestly. But the thing is that this is what this podcast is about, right? It's about sitting around the kitchen table. It's about honesty. It's not about anything fancy or sophisticated. It's just real conversations. So we're very excited to have you here today to have really an honest conversation about your incredible career. So without further ado.
Okay, again, so I'm Tiffany Wood, one of your hosts. Again, we have Jennifer Komish. And then we have the very special guest, Annabel Griffiths Fitzsimmons. And with that, I was going to read through her bio and tell you a few things about what she's done, because she's done a lot of things. So it's very inspiring. So Annabel has a multidisciplinary career as a writer, an author, a playwright, a speaker, an educator, a yoga, Pilates, meditation, and movement teacher, a creative collaborator, and an entrepreneur. So Annabel co-wrote the widely acclaimed play Bittergirl, which became a book and then became a musical across Canada.
And it's hilarious, by the way.
It's
and you
very
can find
funny.
It, so you can go see it because it will be the best decision. It's so funny.
Annabel is a co-writer of the new musical Beyond with Amy Skye and Steve McKinnon. She's written and developed numerous plays for young audiences, including 2 new shows, Reunited and Missing, which is currently in development. As a freelancer, Annabel's writing spans fitness, lifestyle, and parenting spheres. She's written for publications such as Today's Parent, The Toronto Star, Canadian Family, Elle Canada, and Today's Bride.
And many more. ...
Aside from her love of words, Annabel has a deep passion for fitness and wellness and has been teaching movement, yoga, meditation, and Pilates for over 25 years. Her collaborative nature and entrepreneurial spirit have led her to develop numerous business initiatives. Most recently, in 2019, she co-founded Mind Management, a small business that offers mindfulness and meditation tools to the corporate sector. These were brought on by Shoppers Drug Mart to create a mindful meditation series through the pandemic, which is perfect timing. We needed it.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. To come.
Can't wait. She's a frequent guest and expert across print, radio, TV, and podcast platforms, discussing topics from creativity to motherhood to fitness and entrepreneurship. Annabel's latest adventure is as a master's student at Guelph University, where she is currently halfway through her MFA in creative writing, where she is completing the MFA in playwriting thesis. Did I say all that right?
Yep.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to let Jen take over and ask you the first question.
Great.
I know. We've so much to cover,
Yes.
so I'm just so excited to have you here. And having you watched, been part of these different pieces of your career, it's so inspiring. So I know you're going to inspire everyone today. So I really want to start with a pretty basic question, because this is about entrepreneurs, etc. And I think so many of us think of how did you get started, or how do you know you're going to be an entrepreneur? So I kind of lead you with that. What was your path to entrepreneurship?
Interesting. I feel like my bio or my whole career it could be called your podcast. The good, the bad, the hustle. I joke that I actually became an accidental entrepreneur.
I love that.
Because I really have been self-employed since graduating from my 2 degrees.
That's amazing.
And really out of necessity. And so I look back now and I think the choices I've made along the way have continued and I've furthered as an entrepreneur. But in the beginning, I had an English degree and a theater performance degree, and I had a designation to teach yoga. And when you come out of theater school, the environment that I came into, it was very difficult to like break into it unless you made it big right away, or you got cast in something big.
Right.
So we were encouraged to create and develop our own works. So I started a theater company with one of my collaborators, a dear friend, Mary Frances Moore, and then we started to work with Alison Lawrence and ended up creating Bittergirl. But the first theater company we started, Mary Frances and I taught drama to teens. We wrote our own shows, and because we were creating our own work and making our own path, we had to do everything. We did the marketing. We learned about budgeting. We learned about who we had to hire for different things. We learned, and we did every job. So we learned the ins and outs of producing and writing and creating, performing, casting, and that led to the next iteration or the next project. And with any creative industry, you often are creating your own work, unless you're hired on by a theater company or an organization. But I realized that I actually really loved the challenge of creating new things. And parallel to that, with my yoga business, I really loved having two streams of my career. I really loved teaching, I loved movement, I loved connecting athletes to yoga, which was at the time, way back then, not really a bridge. And it was also something that kept me engaged and fit and doing something that I loved that balanced out the creative side, which, you know, you're not always working. So that was how it all started. And that was a long time ago, and everything that I've done since has been kind of following my own path, really, because there was no one writing and producing their own work and developing a yoga and movement business. So that was the initiative, and I just learned a lot.
Yeah, you're ahead of time.
And as you said, like when you're passionate about something, like you knew that it made sense for you, right? That you wanted to do these both things parallel, and you had to do it yourself. Like you had to learn it all, and you know, you've been saying that kind of all the way along. And
filling your toolbox as you go along the way, because there's always things that that aren't your strengths, and there are things that are. And so I would just look at, okay, what are my strengths? I know that I can create a project, or I can create a service, or I can create a class.
Right.
But can I sell it, or who can I sell it to? How do I do that? So using my strengths and then looking for where I needed help and that's partnerships along the way.
Yeah, that's where you bring people in
to
help you where you can't do it yourself, or it's just not your forte, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually kind of leads into the next question. Actually, quite well. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so you have a variety of skills and businesses, as I've just laid out. Is there an industry that you felt was harder to enter or succeed in than another? Because you really...
And here you are talking about parallel paths, right?
Yeah,
like there's one harder than the other.
things that you do.
Like... I think like any small business or any solo venture, whether you're doing it as a solo entrepreneur or a partnership, or every industry has its challenges, and some are pretty much reflective of the other. In the arts, it depends what organization you're either trying to get your project up in, whether you're producing it yourself. There's so many different variations. What I did find, and this is parallel in the wellness and fitness industry as well as the creative industry, is that the larger the organization, sometimes it's more challenging because you have more bureaucracy. So for example, when I was creating webinars and lunch and learns in one of the small businesses that I had early days, called the Own Zone, we would be going into larger organizations. You could get a buy-in from a team member, but if you didn't get buy-in from the top, that didn't matter. So you're dealing with more negotiation of budgets and what budget line are you falling under. So the bigger the company, sometimes the harder it was.
So many more
especially
layers.
As a small business, when you're outside of the corporate, selling into the corporate. But on the flip side of that, when you do get into a corporate, it provides a lot more opportunities. So I think the pros and cons are always equal.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
And it depends on so many things out of your control. I think we were chatting earlier, and I have two examples of, you can plan and goal set, you can have your business plan, and you can be really clear about where you're headed, but you can only control so much.
Yeah.
And I had two small businesses. One, I had worked 3 years part-time developing with my I was pregnant with my second child, and I was launching it 2 months after he was born. But I'd been fully developing, had invested time. It was early days of online. He was born the year the iPhone came out. So I developed, it was an online membership platform, and I created podcasts, interview podcasts. I created Pilates, yoga, and meditation podcasts.
Wow.
So it was a membership site, and I poured my heart into it. It was called Clear Space. It was about clearing 20 minutes a day for yourself.
Great
and all the podcasts were 20
I know.
minutes. And I built this great readership and email list, and I launched, and I got hacked on that first day.
You were ahead of technology.
Right.
Like you were ahead of the game,
and
right?
it was like I sent out the announcement. I'm like, we've launched, and I had been leading up to it, and I was getting all of these calls and emails saying what has happened. And I went onto the site, and it was this creepy sound from and our amazing web developers like went in and corrected it right away.
Yeah.
But it totally hijacked my launch, and I never recovered. And it just felt so deflating that I put all of this work into
3 years, you said.
And then I just had to. I kept it going, but I lost my online trust of people I was asking to sign up for a membership. Like they're not going to give their financial information to a site that had been hacked. And our developers at the time, they'd done everything to protect the site. It was just a really unfortunate accident. On the flip side, when we launched Mind Management, my business partner Amy and we have a silent partner Jamie, we'd been developing it for a while, and we were really focused again on digital content, and we wanted to get meditation and mindfulness into corporations, into the work environment, because mental health was starting to become a really, really big crisis. I mean, it still is. It has been actually.
Always has been.
It has been, but it used to be called Finding Balance. Now it's now it's mental health. So we were really trying to enter and access the individual, and we found that getting people in a corporate environment to get together and meditate with their colleagues, it's like awkward, right? And not always accessible. So our idea was, let's give digital products. We do digital lunch and learn so people can access it on their own time. It could be part of HR or support HR initiatives. So we developed this in 2019, and a lot of our pushback was, oh, well, we like in person. We want you in person. We want you corporate. We want you coming in. We want that tangible, because online was being used for certain things, but in terms of HR initiatives and mental health, they predominantly wanted in person, with a few exceptions. And then the pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, our business exploded. Like, we weren't saying we were thankful for the pandemic at all. It was crazy. But the timing. We had created our business for that.
Platform for that.
And so then shoppers, hired us on to do this whole series of mindfulness meditations for kids, for sleep, for people to access free online during the pandemic. So that was a huge boost to our business. And we had, all of a sudden, corporations were like, we are desperate for Zoom, like online lunch and learns, discussions, online meditations. And so it just allowed our business to flourish. So there's
and what a pivot from, one business idea that you worked on for so long being sort of crushed.
Yeah.
And then you came into something that just put you in another direction, and so much success came from it. Like, it's amazing.
So I think it's a huge lesson.
A door closes, another door is going to open.
Yeah, it's a huge lesson, I think. In entrepreneurship, you have to be adaptive. Yeah. You have to be able to pivot. You also have to understand there are things beyond your control, and things could change in a moment.
And persistence, like, you know what, that not give up factor. You know, you said something earlier, and I want you to bring it up again.
Yes.
I was like,
What's
oh my
that
God,
called?
that's such a good.
It's the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we'll talk about, I'm sure, about business partnerships, but there's something that often as an entrepreneur, whether you're in a small business with a partner or you're solo venture, if you've put so much time and energy into something, it's very hard to say, okay, I need to step away. It's not working. And it's called the sunk cost fallacy. It's about just continuing to bang your head against something that you realize is not working.
Right.
And you can have a really great idea that might not necessarily be a good business.
Right.
Or you can have a really great idea and circumstances like getting hacked on your first day come into play. And so I think it leads to what are such key principles and foundations as an entrepreneur? You have to know yourself. You have to know what you're willing to give and give up. Everything is like the two sides, right? It's like a double-edged sword, right? I'm willing to give up a stable paycheck that I'm willing to give up benefits and like certain stabilities because I want freedom to make my own hours, to create my own things.
Well, it brings it back to you have to know all the parts of the business that you're thinking of going into. Not all of them are glamorous. Some are fun. Some are tedious, and
it's a job. It's a job, right?
Like you do get flexibility. You get to be your own boss,
but you still have to go to work
to do
every day.
Things that you might not want to do.
We were talking about that in our last podcast. And there's no break.
Well, that's why I was joking about the hustle, right? Every industry. I mean, you talked about all the different hats I wear. And part of that, again, was necessity. Like some years I'm writing and making more money writing. Some years I'm making more money teaching. And I just have to like balance that out and say, well, where is my energy going? Where do I have the energy? Because
that's the truth.
Being a parent changes things. Life circumstances change things.
And the market, like as you said too, like you were ahead of the game for a long time there with this meditation and this, you know, this mental health, and it's caught up, right? But, you know, at the time, that's a big risk. Like, it kind of leads into my next question, and I think you've already answered it, but I'm going to still put it out there because, which is really, you know, what would you want to share? Like, what worked for you? Like, I think about after the fact that, you know, you got hacked. Like, you know, obviously the next day you didn't jump into the next, you know, opportunity. Like, what worked? Like, maybe it was, you know, mental, like your mental, you know, how you positioned it in your brain, or how you, you know, took the positive side of it. Like, what?
It's funny, at the time, I don't, in retrospect, I can see that it all led to mind management and partnering with Amy and Jamie, because I did ClearSpace as a solo venture. But I learned so many lessons, and it was almost 10 years later. I mean, Amy and I had started talking about it 2 years before we launched, so we spent a lot of time developing it. But I sat back, and I think this is important, is being able to sit back and take time to revisit, okay, what were my goals? I'm really disappointed. This is not the end. There's never an end. It's always a beginning of something else. I actually was also lucky because I never got mat leave because I'm self-employed, right? So I had to make very clear decisions. If I'm hiring someone to look after the kids while I work, it has to be worth it for me, both professionally, personally, away from the kids, and making enough money to be away from the kids. So I think knowing yourself, knowing what you can give, and that will change throughout energy, life circumstances, divorce. I'm caregiving for 2 elderly parents right now. That takes energy. So what skills and what energy do you have? If you have a business partner, how committed are you both to, and is this a full-time thing? Or is it a part-time? Is this a part-time and you're transitioning to full-time? Is it a side hustle, or is it a full gig where you're diving in? So I took time to kind of step back and rest. I was still teaching. I still had my mobile yoga meditation studio, and I was still freelance writing. And Bittergirl at that time actually was just about to get picked up as the musical and start its launch across Canada. So I had other things going on, but
fire,
I gave myself time to step back. And so by the time Amy and I started talking about mind management, all of those lessons had kind of settled.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
Those
100%.
failures are so important. It's what, and this sounds so cliche, but it is so true. What can I learn from this?
Yeah. What's the takeaway?
And a failure is not you failing.
No.
Like, that's key.
Well said.
Something just didn't work.
Yeah.
So
And
what's
you're
gonna
always
work?
learning.
Yeah.
Always learning, and
it's
that's
going
part of
back
business.
to 100%. And where you said too, like always setting goals and like what's the net goal for you? Like what sitting back and looking at it and saying, okay, what do I want to achieve? Like what do I want to do? And you were the biggest pivot in my life for me being an entrepreneur. Because I came to you and I was working at Shoppers Drug Mart, or Roots. I don't know where. I think it was Shoppers Drug Mart.
Best Health.
It was Best Health magazine.
I remember so clearly.
And I was the Reader's Digest. And I said to you, I was like, you know what? I wanted a change, and I love travel. Like I love, traveling. And there was an opportunity maybe at a big travel company, and I thought, do I apply for this job? But it would have been full-time again, 9 to 5. They take your soul. Not that that's not a bad thing, but you make those choices.
And your
we all
soul
do.
is worth
Yeah.
different things at different times.
And you said to me, that's great because it would be a travel and it'd be what you want to do. But you looked at me and said, but what's your end goal? And I said, well, I want to travel. And you said to me, but do you want to do it on someone else's time? Or what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I want to travel with my friends, whatever. And that was the pivot. Then I said, I had to work for myself so that I could be able to travel and do that flexible on my own when I wanted and work from other places. And that was the reason I
And
went
that's
on my
when
own.
we met.
I love it.
But to your point, like I even forgot about that. It's because what is the end goal that you want,
Yes.
right? Is it flexibility? Is it, is it something you're passionate about? So you have to figure that up because you made a good point too about what you're giving up and no mat leave and things like that, right? That they all play out.
And I
it's
don't mean that
fascinating.
in a negative way, right?
No.
Because
you were with your kids.
Yeah, and I
more
know
than a year.
that stability, like for some people, I just have never, partly because I grew up moving all over the world. Like my parents moved, we moved so many times. And I was so used to like reiterating, adapting, finding a new way to kind of make things work that's just kind of in my soul. But I know other people, that's terrifying.
100%.
It actually would send them off their central nervous system. It would make life miserable.
It's not worth it.
So again, it's back to like the word authenticity gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But you're going to succeed when you know yourself.
Yes.
And you know what suits you.
Yes.
And
Well
your
said.
worth.
Right.
There's so much about knowing your worth. Like we also
yeah.
fake it till you make it. And I truly believe in that.
Right.
Because we all question ourselves. But then we do something and we're like, I
knew I
know
could do
this.
that.
And I can do this for someone else or
Yeah.
achieving this.
And you read my bio and it sounds like lots of stuff, but it's just kind of what I've done.
Yeah.
It's
not
amazing though.
But to me,
incredible.
it's just
What a journey.
working,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
that's a huge thing as an entrepreneur that is often overlooked. Is celebrate every small success.
Yes.
Celebrate
Every
it. Take a
little win.
moment. Because it's so easy to go like the hustle, because you do have to. You can't just go, hey, just going to sit back now, because you constantly do have to keep getting clients. And you have to keep moving your product or your project forward. But take moments to appreciate where you've come.
That's great advice. I never even had thought of that myself.
Tend to perseverate over the
Yeah.
negative
Well,
instead of
what's
saying,
next?
oh my God, but look what we did do
Right.
and look what happened.
Well, I think everything that you're saying is amazing and it's so insightful. And, in the past episodes, Jen and I talked a lot about choosing the right business partner. And you've touched on it a little bit, but how has that
a lot of different
impacted?
business partners.
Yeah, I've worked with so many.
That's incredible. So, we can glean a lot from that. How has it impacted you and influenced your career?
Well, I think coming up in theater, it's such a collaborative act.
Right.
So it's kind of part of my DNA. Even in high school, I was part of a theater company. We created our own shows.
That's amazing.
So I think I've always been really open to teamwork and collaboration. My parents kind of showed me that too. Like, you're as strong as the people you're working with, right? And so it was just natural. And I actually, Mary Frances and I laugh all the time about the first theater company that we started and the theater school, because we were really successful right off the bat, but we had no idea what we were doing. We were so bold. We just kind of dove in. It was like the innocence of youth, right?
Sometimes I gotta do that, though, right?
So I've worked with friends. I've worked on projects with people I didn't know. I'd say if I have lessons, it would be really sit down at the beginning and be clear. Especially if you're launching a small business, if you're doing a short-term project, it's different because you can see an end. But if you're actually in it and you're developing a business plan and you're have an agreement on on what happens if circumstances change,
Very good point.
Like what happens if someone's spouse passes away or something completely unforeseen. So I had an experience where I was business partners with a friend. We were both, kind of doing it part-time, and then we had kids, and our priorities, we both agreed, what? This is time to wrap up this chapter. It was great.
Right.
It's time to wrap it up. I've had experiences where expectations haven't been set out from the get-go, and it's tricky to come back to the beginning. So at the beginning, it can be uncomfortable to have the conversations, especially with friends, because you're idealistic and you're excited, but it's better to have that uncomfortable conversation at the beginning and just set out expectations and this is how much time I'm giving to it. These are my strengths, and set out roles. They're going to change. And then the other thing is keep checking in. There has to be a continual, where are we at? How are we feeling about where we're at? Where do we see, it's like I keep calling it reiterating or it's reconnecting and recalibrating. That's it, recalibrating. Because every day our lives change. Every day the environment around us. I mean, look at the politics, our children.
Well, and it should be part of your planning of your business that you're going to revisit these things with your partner every,
however
whatever
much you're
that
comfortable
is.
with. It depends on the business too, right?
But it should be part of your plan so you don't forget it.
Because you
can forget.
We revisit the budget. We revisit the financials. We revisit the client list. We revisit our goals and what our to-dos are. But we have to revisit the team, or
it's like a check-in too, right? Because I think
we forget, with your husband or your kids.
If it gets too far down the road and you're upset because maybe it's not equal in its weight and how much you're contributing, and it could build up, right? So to do these check-ins and you have that ability to be honest in, along the way rather than at the end and be like, I'm out. I'm popping.
And
sorry for everyone on their podcast on here.
and don't assume what the other person's thinking. That's another thing, is that, only by communication and clarity. And whether that means we put in, it was funny, we, with my management at one point, we used to joke, we're going to go and meditate on it, right? If we had a problem with it, we're going to go and meditate on it.
Of course.
I bet you found that helpful.
Yeah, we did. But we did this exercise where we went away and wrote down what we were envisioning. And it was really interesting to see, I'm a big fan of vision boards, and people think that's really woo-woo, but you know what? It's goal setting for me, and it has worked. Everything on my thing, I can see, and it comes. And because I'm working towards it. It's like action. I can action vision.
Yes.
I can action my to-do list towards that. But it's kind of like when you bring those, I think it's generative for people to check in with what their visions are for the company. It doesn't have to be vision boardy. I'm talking about where would you like it to go? What's your biggest ideal? What is challenging you right now?
That's a good
right.
question.
So 3 different questions. It can be simple, and you come and go, this is where I'm struggling. This is what I think I'm doing really well. This is where I think we could go.
And when I teach, we have this stop, start, repeat.
Yes, that's so, it's
and the
so
students
good.
kind of look at me like, what? I'm like, no, what should I stop and stop doing? What should I start and what should I repeat? Same thing. It applies across all these industries, like when we're asking about different industries, like these are not, I mean, I think they're much more prevalent in the creative industry because you guys are naturally creative people and are better at, I think, communicating and maybe not. Maybe you're just, able to present your feelings, in a play, but not in real life. I don't know, but
it's the same. It's just the intricacies of business partnerships. It's not easy.
Still business.
It's still business. We're still trying to sell a product.
Yeah.
We
Still
still
trying to make
disagree on
money
how
and
marketing and the title of the play, right? So
It's just
I
a
think
different industry.
My longest partnership with Mary Frances and Allison of Bittergirl Productions, we never anticipated what
the
would
growth
come
and success.
with
That's
this
true.
project, and we are
That's
still,
incredible.
and it is rare. We are still very, very close, and we have strengths, and we know each other's strengths, and we're like, okay, Mary Frances is the one that makes all the hard calls, like phone calls, and Allison is super good at the admin, and we all have our strengths, and it's been a joy, and we keep coming back to that because and that's why success has happened. Like, we set the goal of writing a book, and we remounted our play, and we put chapters of an imaginary book on the stairwell, and we invited agents to come to the play, and so it looked like we already had a book. And this one agent reached out to us and said, hey, do you have a book? And we were like, oh, we have pages. And then she said, I'd love to meet. And we showed her some of our sample pages. And she said, this is the proposal that you need to write. Wow. And then we'll sell your book. And we were on the Today Show. And
wow.
And
you
so
just gave me goosebumps.
But
It's so exciting.
We set that goal and we worked towards it. So, but you have to want to be a team with your team.
You do.
Yeah, and those people are we're lucky too. It's like a business partner and a friend for you. I know those girls. You guys are thick as thieves. And again, that play, and I don't know if I can say it. I'm sure I can say it. It's because you're going to go see Bittergirl. You have to go watch the play. But it is really your lives. It's each of your lives you wrote about, right? And
semi-autobiographical.
Oh, I didn't really realize that.
Yeah. Well, it started out
and
then we merged our stories, and
But originally, you came together,
and it's hilarious. I brought my mother to it, and I don't think I ever laughed. So, even she's laughed. Where the two of us just laughed. It was so fun.
But you're all being vulnerable by doing that, right? And
well,
that's where
being vulnerable in a partnership is key, right? And also, I think knowing when to stick to it and knowing when to walk away.
Yeah, 100%.
Again, it's the sunk cost fallacy, and it's recognizing that chapters close and that it's not a bit this is the thing. Nothing is bad. Nothing is a bad thing. There's always something next.
Because to your point, that's what growth comes from. Right. That learning and that movement and everything that we do takes us to where we are now.
And pivots, right? Yeah. You pivot when it's not feeling quite right. Some things, sometimes you just naturally pivot in a different direction.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to throw another question here. And then I'm just looking at our time here because I get wrapped up in this because I'm so excited. Okay. What are we at? Oh, we're at half an hour. Okay. So, and I kind of want to end up with something kind of interesting, what would surprise someone? What would be, if you were to say, okay, you're going to start your own business, what would surprise someone that you might say starting their own business that someone might not expect?
That it will surprise you. It will surprise you.
That's why you're a writer.
It will. It will, and it will surprise you in the most glorious ways.
Yes.
And it will disappoint you in the most heartbreaking ways. But I keep coming back to the image of the double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because it's like everything in life. You have to balance the ideal, because you have to be idealistic to start a business.
100%.
You have to believe. You have to be
your vision board,
right? Or whatever it is. The
and you have
ideal,
to like what you're going to do, right?
You have to be
interested
about it. And so, but you have to balance the idealism with reality.
Yes.
So there's that. There's a play there between an attention between those two things, and sometimes you have to be more idealistic, sometimes you have to be more realistic, but I think
That's well said.
that it will surprise you, and
Yeah.
you will learn so much about yourself.
Yes, it's
Definitely.
true.
And I keep talking about authenticity,
Yeah.
but I don't mean it in the buzzword,
Yeah.
like balance used to be, right?
Yeah.
Because it was for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you can't ever really have balance.
No.
Like, you can in some ways,
Ish,
but
yeah.
you choose your balance. That's what it is. There's
Exactly.
no formula.
Yeah.
But when I talk about authenticity, I come back to the biggest thing is you have to know yourself,
Yeah.
and you have to not lose sight
Yeah.
of your values,
Yes.
your integrity, what's important to you.
Yeah.
And those things, if you keep yourself protecting those things,
Yeah.
you're going to have a business that reflects you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's very
Yeah.
true. It's very, very true, right? You're putting yourself out there. It goes
Right.
back to that. And you said something earlier too that I'm stuck on too, which is this idea of nothing's a failure, right? Like, and that's the hard thing too. Like, being
I'm still
your
learning
own
that.
boss. I know.
Let's,
Tiff and I same,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's working, what's not. It's so hard, but that is where, people that push boundaries and keep going, and that's where,
they say fail fast in
Yeah.
the tech industry, which
Yes.
is really like traumatizing, right?
Interesting. I know.
And you've always got to push yourself, I feel like, to do something uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not always going to be easy. Like, doing a podcast for me was pushing
Which
myself
I love.
right out of my comfort zone. But you know what? You do it. You do what you need to do. And then
look,
I
you're
enjoy
doing
it
it.
now. Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, I'm
Right?
excited for today. I was like,
very
there you
excited.
go. OCM clap.
Have our first special guest. Yes.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I think we've heard so much from you. I could sit and we could talk to you forever. But I want to ask you kind of on a final here, what's next for you? What do you think? Because there's so much, like this, the play, and you've got more plays coming up, and you're in school, and like, what, like...
Well, I know that I will always want to teach.
Yes.
Because I learn from teaching.
Yeah.
So there's a symbiotic relationship there that
Yeah.
I'm not willing to give up. I learned so much. I was TA at University of Guelph this last year in a creative writing class, and I learned so much from the students,
Amazing.
and that fuels me.
Right.
So I know that I will continue to teach. I will definitely continue to write. I'm working on 3 different projects right now, and I will always write. So in some form or other, I'll be writing and teaching. And I still teach yoga and Pilates and
Sure.
meditation. And my management is kind of running on its own. I'm
Yes.
a silent partner now, so I'll get
Okay.
involved if I need to. Yeah, the creativity. I feel like that my
Leaning
seeds
in.
are planted.
Yeah.
I just want to keep creating.
And you're doing this
teaching.
for you, like you've always said, like this was
I
something
wanted to
like
do
this.
the
This
masters.
was
Yeah,
a goal
yeah.
that you had, and to be able to do it, and you're right, to be able to give back in that teaching, because it is a very, it's a very humbling experience, like to teach and be able to give back to that, and I do find it as as much as I love
rewarding.
our clever marketers, the teaching just gives you a different sense of giving back. It's
It
pretty
does,
neat.
for
Like,
sure.
It's really neat, but you will be incredible at that.
Well, I look forward to reading a book or
I know, another
watching
play,
another
another
play.
play. That's what I want. I
Whatever's
can't
coming.
wait.
Yeah.
But I think you could write a great book. I don't know.
Oh,
I have it. I
there's
have
a
a
book
feeling
on
that
my
it's
there's
in
a book
you.
on my desktop, maybe 2
Yeah.
actually, but
I feel
yeah, the playwriting is really where my energy is going right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And to your point, it is something I had promised myself a long
love
time
that.
ago, and the kids are old enough, and
Yeah.
it was time.
Yeah.
It's time.
So,
It's time
yeah.
for you now.
It is, right? And everything led to a certain spot that could be something that you could achieve.
And I wouldn't change a thing.
No. And that's the thing, right? Like, it's amazing.
Because everything gets us to where we are.
It does.
It really
Agreed.
does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to speechless.
Well, thank
Thank you.
Oh,
That's
it's been
exciting.
so great.
That's great.
Honestly, and we will put everything out there, your Instagram to follow. You have it
Yes.
written there, Annabel.
Annabel J. Griff.
Yeah. And then we will make sure that also just things like,
And
you know,
Bittergirl's
your
coming up.
Bittergirl
Yeah.
and all these things. So we'll put that in there and able to find you because anyone able to watch that and potentially your book down the road. Now you've put it in her mind, like this book that's just going
I
to
just
be running.
feel it.
I know, me too. So all these things because you are a true inspiration, Annabel.
Oh, thank you
Yes.
guys.
you.
And
Thank you.
I'm so excited.
And thanks for all the advice.
Yes.
Too. I'm
So
sure
everyone
everybody out
enjoy.
there, gleaned a lot of great
Yeah.
information from your experiences.
Oh, thanks. Well, you're the clever marketer.
Oh,
guys.
thank you. We're just clever to have you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you. Have a
Thanks,
great day,
everybody.
and we'll see you for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.